So you can look at Elden Ring as a culmination of all the Souls-born games FromSoftware has developed throughout the years. It's an obvious successor to the Dark Souls series, with its dark fantasy setting, its swords, its magic. But it also includes things like Millennia's Great Rune, which mimic the rally mechanic in Bloodborne, where it gives you a window to regenerate your HP by attacking an enemy after losing some health. And in the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, they introduced the Deflecting Hartier, which gives you the ability to deflect attacks when you perfect block, allowing you to play the game like Sekiro. They also included these untouchable enemies, which are an obvious callback to the Winter Lanterns in Bloodborne in both the visuals and gameplay. But even with the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, for a lot of us long-time Souls fans, Elden Ring still seems a bit incomplete. To truly reach its peak as a Souls successor, it would have to reintroduce covenants. Now this is a system in all the Souls games, including Bloodborne, in which you could join different factions. And by participating in multiplayer, either through co-op or PvP, you can earn rewards from the covenant you joined. It was a fun way to keep the game active in the long term. Now related to the covenant were PvP bosses, where if you were playing online instead of an AI boss, you would fight a real player, such as the old monk fight in Demon Souls, the Mirror Knight in Dark Souls 2, which in this one the AI boss actually summoned an online player that would come out of his mirror shield. It was pretty cool. There was also the Spear of the Church Covenant in the DLC for Dark Souls 3, where you can be summoned to fight as a boss. And there was also zones that were guarded by Covenant members. So to traverse them, you would have to fight these players or AI if you're playing offline. I thought maybe the Abyssal Woods in the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion would be one of these Covenant zones, because you can't use torrent there. Alas, it was not the case. Now another thing that's missing from Elden Ring that they could reintroduce is the chalice dungeons from Bloodborne. These were extra side dungeons you can explore that can be randomly generated, so they could potentially offer an infinite amount of gameplay. They had some unique bosses and some unique enemies that again increase the longevity once you complete the main story. Now visually they're kind of similar to the catacombs you find in Elden Ring, but there's no way to randomly generate them. I'm thinking they can actually add a successor to these challenge dungeons and the Covenant system with an update maybe. If they really wanted to tie a bow on Elden Ring as the greatest hits of the FromSoftware Souls formula. And they can make it work with the lore via Godwyn. Godwyn was the most cherished of Marika's offspring. He was assassinated as part of Ranni's plan in the base game, and as a result he spread Deathroot throughout the lands between, as well as in the Realm of Shadows. In the base game, his disfigured, malformed body rests at the bottom of the Erdtree, the roots of the Erdtree. But you can also find copies elsewhere, like at the bottom of Stormveil Castle, and also in the DLC. There's 2 catacombs that feature his corpse, guarded by Death Knights. They're actually referred to as cadaver surrogates. It appears these Death Knights are maybe trying to resurrect Godwyn, or at the very least protecting spots where his influence can spread. Now a lot of players were expecting to fight Godwyn or have a lot of more substantial Godwyn lore in the DLC. Instead we got a final fight with Radahn, which is okay. I guess it makes sense that Godwyn's story concluded in the base game, but it still feels like there was a lot of potential with his storyline. Potential that can be fulfilled if they add a small update to include, for example, a chalice dungeon type catacombs area that leads to the roots of the Shadow Tree. Since Godwyn's corpse rests at the roots of the Erdtree in the base game, what if there's a shadow version of his corpse at the roots of the Shadow Tree? Or maybe another cadaver surrogate. That makes a lot of sense to me. And what if we can join the Death Knight Covenant to protect that cadaver from intruders. So maybe there can be a PvP zone area on the way to that cadaver. Maybe we don't even fight Godwyn or his corpse. Maybe we're just summoned in to fight as a PvP boss. That'd be so neat. It'll bring in all the missing pieces from the DLC into one nice package. But how do we get to this new area? Through the Erdtree chalice, of course. Now, when I first came upon this, I suspected there was more to it. Maybe we'd have to put Mesmer's Flame in here or something. But no, it's just an area for lore enthusiasts to investigate, I guess. And to pick up some Erdtree fragments. Seems like there was something big that was going to happen here that maybe they cut out of the game. It feels like maybe it was a way to transport you to another area, much like the Forge of the Giants did in the base game. Or maybe they're working on it and they're gonna introduce it in an update. Alright, so this is all just maybe wishful thinking, a little bit of post-DLC depression, hoping that there can be just one more thing before they officially close the book on Elden Ring. But in the past, updates have included new modes and new quests, like Patch's Quest and Jarberg. Those were introduced after the launch of the base game. There was the PvP Coliseum was introduced several months into release. And even Sekiro got an update, I think even like a year after release or so, of a boss rush mode. So maybe, just maybe, they got something cooking up. I mean, this randomized chalice idea has so much potential. You could introduce a boss rush mode where you can select the bosses you want to fight. You know, we can have the PvP zone, we can have a covenant, we can have more Godwyn lore, or something completely different, maybe, that will still be satisfying and feel like closure. They might as well throw in a secret boss fight with a glow-eyed queen too. We can dream. They're still releasing patches to balance weapons and stuff. Yeah, I know Miyazaki said that they're done with Elden Ring. They're not, this is the last expansion. But that could still be true, you know, the update can still be part of the expansion. Well, even if we don't get anything more substantial, that's okay. There's still so much to this game now. I'm gonna be playing it and making different characters and builds for years to come. Because I'm an Elden nerd, I guess. Anyway, what do you think? You think they're gonna add more stuff? What would you like to see? Maybe you don't want to see anything related to Godwyn. Maybe it's just something completely different and new. That'd be cool too. More fingers, more alabaster lords, more alien stuff. That'd be cool. Yeah. I'll see you next time. Under the moonlight. Bye bye.